necessarily wanted to be theatric about it.
We needed music.
Yeah.
You need entrance music. What would your entrance music song be?
Oh my God, shut up.
Last
It's too early to think like that. I don't know. Pick
when the
something.
last drive-in song.
No, I'm over that. Something else.
I'm going to go to sleep in this chair.
I gotta ask you,
shouldn't
are
give me
you
a comfy
feeling
chair.
spry as fuck?
Yo, I'm spry as fuck. We had Walpurgis knocked on Friday night.
The only episode I haven't seen.
We had it 2 days late. You were late. She was partying at the Brocken, and we actually consumed every single alcoholic beverage that is associated with Walpurgisnacht in no good order. So so we're still recovering.
I'll try not to make the questions too hard.
Okay.
You started with the theme song. Like you already busted out the hard stuff. But did you guys get that she's me in Halloween Ends? Yeah. That's amazing. I am honored. Thank you.
You always do great cosplays for your guests, so I'm paying it forward.
I appreciate it.
Cosplay
Thank
is
you.
also our love language as well. So.
Aw. Never did I thought I'd see that.
I've heard you guys tell this story before, and I never get tired of it.
Oh,
Can
God.
you guys tell us the story of how you met and how you got started on the last drive-in?
Okay, the abridged version. Yes. Long story short, I was just a really big fan of his growing up. I had a horror site that I ran, and every year it's like, don't forget about Joe Bob, he was amazing, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to track him down, see where he was, see how we could get him back. I found out he was writing, like, science books? What is your satellite book?
It was about satellites.
Whatever.
What was it?
Science books. I went to a book signing of his for that, dressed in a male girl outfit, because I was kind of picturing a con. Like, I thought that was going to be, but actually he was giving me, like, a lecture. I didn't know it was, like, at a set time to start that lecture, and I walked in way late, and everybody stared at me, and I was so embarrassed. But anyway, he was really cool about it. We became friends, and I spent 2 years saying, we need you back, we need you back. He kept saying, nah, they have Google, there's no place for me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, there's YouTube, there's podcasts, there's like everything. And then Shutter came along, he's like, should I do this? I'm like, fuck yeah, you should do this. And then here we are.
Yeah, but
Quick version.
the thing about that story is the book signing was at a bookstore in Mountain View, California. And some of you may know that Mountain View, California is where, that's where Google is, that's where the Pentagon, the Pentagon's online stuff is. So all the people at this reading
We're very serious science
were these really high level software engineers and people like that. And so Darcy shows up as the mail girl. So obviously I'm going to notice her.
It was so silent because, like I said, I thought it's just like you show up anytime when he's there and get a signing. I didn't know he was doing a lecture and everybody's like paying attention, being all quiet. I'm like, hey.
There were people from the White House there.
Whatever. I didn't know.
Those people, Darcy was there.
Anyway, so fast forward a couple of years, and Matt Mangiarides, the producer of The Last Drive-In, comes and he says he's got this deal set up to do a pilot for Shudder, and we met with the Shudder executive, and the Shudder executive said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we're not going to make any impression unless it's a big deal, and so we agreed to make it. We were going to do a 54-hour marathon that was modeled after the Jerry Lewis telethon. And we were going to do it on Labor Day weekend, and I said this would get people's attention, and so we planned it, and we started working on it, and I started preparing it, and they had a change of management at Shudder, and the CEO was fired. And the new CEO came in and he started eliminating projects. Now, he didn't eliminate us right away, but I think about like 3 months into his tenure, because it was going to take a while to do this 54-hour, plan this 54-hour thing. 3 months into his tenure, we called it Black Friday. He calls on a Friday and he says, "I'm just not into nostalgia, and I don't think I want to do this. It's too expensive." Even though it wasn't that expensive, really was not that expensive. And the executive, it was not the executive who had originally, gotten excited about it. And so that executive stayed on the phone with us, and he said, "Okay, now, don't tell me no immediately, and don't be mad at me." And he says, "But I have a fund that I can do anything that I want with, but it's only $30,000. Tell me what you can do. Tell me to go to hell, or tell me that you can do something with $30,000. And you don't have to answer today. We'll talk on Monday." And so when we hung up the phone, I told the would-be producers, we can do 2 movies. We can do maybe 4 movies. We can maybe have 2 guests, or I said this is essentially something like a walk-on on a talk show. $30,000. I mean, just to set up a set and build a set, and so I said, I don't think we should do it. And they said, "Well, we kind of agree with you." They said, "Well, what if we just did 1 movie and made a big deal out of it?" I said, then we look pathetic. I said, let's just pass. We'll get someone. We'll keep it alive. We'll go to someone else. Okay, so that's on Friday afternoon. On Sunday morning, the producer calls me and says, "The entire crew says they will work for free." And I said, "Fuck you, Matt. Now I have to do it." And so,
Okay, but I want to remind you the question was how we met.
Yeah. But that's what this is leading up to. So yes. So I have to have a male girl. And remember, I called you up and I said, "You've already got the costume. You wore it to Mountain View, California in 2016, and you agreed to do it. Then you told me later that you wanted to chicken out and not come, but at the time you wanted to do it."
Okay, thanks.
And so that's how we
met. Really?
That's how we cast the male girl.
That's not what the question was. How you cast? I was there.
We only had.
Do you have another question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, shortly after you met, it wasn't too long ago, probably not far from here, where you were interviewing him for a podcast, right? And you were watching Pet Sematary 2?
With Hot Clancy Brown in it.
Yeah, Hot Clancy Brown.
Wow, you guys are good. Okay, so that was Port Orchard, where we already kind of knew we were going to shoot that, but no one else knew. And so he was hosting a movie festival in Port Orchard.
What do you mean, a movie festival? It was the Port Orchard fucking film festival.
Okay. No one showed up. He did a signing at a comic book store. No one showed up. It was free comic book day, and people were like, "Who's that guy?" And no Joe Bob merch existed. I made a shirt that said Joe Bob Briggs.
Have anybody ever seen the movie theater in Port Orchard?
Yes.
Okay, maybe you could get 150 people in there.
But you did not.
No, I did not draw 150 people.
He would now. So, anyways, you started off a bit of a fan, like everyone in this room.
Completely.
And then you guys were kind of planning. I remember he was hinting that you were going to be the male girl in that. But then you guys built a professional relationship, and I'm sure there's a strong friendship in there. And I kind of want to know a better answer than that. How has it evolved, and what does it mean to you guys?
Well,
You take it, JP.
it's actually a pain in my ass because I never had a male girl who had extremely strong opinions about the lineups. And so, I say, okay, here's the two movies.
You guys should see what the lineups start out as. Like, you think we end up with shit? You should see what it starts as.
Hey, what about, here are the two movies we're doing for Halloween.
No. We're not doing those for Halloween.
That'll be the direction. No explanation, no discussion, no. And people won't watch that. So
You guys should see some of those shows.
you're like you always portray yourself as the voice of the people. Right?
I was a fan first. I went to 3 cons before I had the courage to talk to him at that stupid thing I went to. And only because people could clearly tell it was for him and forced me to go talk to him. I was so nervous, and all of this is because I wanted him back. So, I worked so hard to support him, make sure it goes well. When the internet broke, whatever, I was so happy because he was so scared that people weren't going to remember him, that no one would care. And everybody, look at how much people care. So I have that from you. Oh my God, what now?
No, but here's the thing. Here's the way you fit into the Shudder universe. It's like the people that run Shudder, they are basically A24 kind of people. I mean, they are.
I mean, I wish they were that mainstream.
They are elevated where hey, you got this hot.
They turned down Terrifier too. Let's just say that.
Hey, we got this hot new Indonesian horror
God.
film, and so Darcy is the opposite. I mean, Darcy is Terrifier 4. Let's do Terrifier 4. And so
Yes, please.
it's kind of and even our director has kind of
Indonesian.
well,
taste. Oh
I mean he
yeah, he's so artsy.
Austin, he's a film student. I mean, he went to film school, and he was like, I'm sure he got straight A's in film school because he's like, saw everything and knows, the original, where the original Citizen Kane print is and all that stuff. And so he tends to favor those guys. I mean, I'm glad that we showed it, but I don't think I ever would have done Possession.
No, we should have Possession. Possession, I agree to.
Unless Austin said, let's do Possession. I'm going, whoa, Polish, Zalowski, subtitles, you want to do that? And he was like, yeah.
And here's why we did it. Because I am the voice of the people. I said, do you know how many requests I get for Possession?
Okay.
We're going to do
All
Possession.
So
So keep letting me know what you guys want.
sometimes it works out. Sometimes.
You guys talk a little bit about choosing the movies and the process of that. Obviously, a lot of research and planning has to go into each episode of The Last Drive-In.
No.
What does that look like, and how long does it take?
Well,
Oh,
I
God.
mean,
Oh, God.
it starts
It
out.
takes so
It
long.
starts out with, all right. Here's all the movies. I actually made a list of 200 movies. I said
Your list is irrelevant, though. They
two-
just say no to
two-
everything.
these 200 movies. Any of these 200 movies would make me very happy. And then there's the other list. Movies that
Shudder
Shudder has. And then there's the third list of movies that maybe Sam can get. Sam is our curator. The movies that maybe Sam, in his conversations with the studios and everything, maybe he can get them. We put them in purple on the list, and so out of that, we end up using the movie Shudder has. So no, always.
that's
Not
fair.
always. We have gotten some. I mean,
Like 3.
no. I mean,
Yes.
It's so weird. It's really hard to get rights on a movie for a streaming service because they don't mind giving the movie to AMC. They're just going to show it twice, You give it to a streaming service, people can watch it forever, and so they want huge amounts of money for the marquee titles. They'll give it to you for a month, but Shudder doesn't want movies that are just available for a month to be on our show because they want them to continue to be available in the library. I would actually like to have some movies that we only had for a month, just to do them, and say we did them, and I've asked them to do that, and they don't really want to do that.
We also, there's a lot of places like MGM and stuff like that won't let us interrupt the movie. So that takes a whole nother thing.
Oh.
So like
there's
once
entire
we break
libraries
down,
where they have this boilerplate contracts that says you can't interrupt the movie. It has to
So
place.
everyone always asks why we had amazing movies in the marathon, and that's because Shudder didn't really understand stuff yet, and they didn't know how the rights work. So we did a lot of stuff wrong in the first marathon. So I got to show like Hellraiser and stuff.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the Dinners of Death marathon in 2018. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes. What was the third one? The Japanese film.
Why? What are you doing?
Let's do it.
Dead or Alive.
No, Dead or Alive. That's right.
Dead or Alive, and then Blood Rage.
Yeah.
Probably we could still get Blood Rage,
They took that down.
but
Oh my God.
But we got long-term contracts.
This is
on that.
back when I was still a believer, and like they actually lost the rights to The Hills Have Eyes like right before we were supposed to show it, and so we were gonna have to switch to frickin' what was it, Maniac? Not Maniac, something worse, Madman. For Thanksgiving, and like Michael Berryman was supposed to come or whatever. So like I remember back in the day, like we did everything grassroots, and I found the address of the dude that owned the rights and like left flowers at his house and was like whining and dining. I'm like, please, can we have the rights? And then he finally wrote, okay. And they sent it to Shudder, and they're like, good enough for us. And so we got the rights. But it's hard to get the rights.
It was even more complicated than that.
But
Because
it's the quick version.
No. I was actually on the phone with somebody at Shudder saying this guy needs to have, what was it, $20,000? It's like, this guy needs $20,000, to give it to us. And they said, well, yeah, we'll put it in, we'll put it through at AMC. And no. Somebody needs to go to the bank, take out $20,000, hand the guy $20,000. And I think they did, right?
That doesn't sound like Shudder. I think he agreed tentatively to just say, because we had a deadline. It's like we need it in 2 days.
He
like
may
you guys still
have,
have time for
said,
this.
okay, within a week, I want $20,000 cash. And
To me, literally the text says, okay, the end, and they figured it out after that. So it's like they were just waiting for that.
Bottom line, we showed Hills Have Eyes with Michael Berryman, who is a friend to this day and a great guy. And buy his book. He just wrote his autobiography. Buy that. What's it called?
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
It's on Kindle Unlimited.
Buy that book. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. He is the most humble person, and it is all good with him. It is all good.
It was actually my first autograph at Crypticon a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, you got it all planned. Sometimes things fall through. Sometimes people need money, hold you up. But let's say it's all working out. Austin's behind the camera or whatever. Brendan's already with the music. Yuki's there. Ernie's there. Everybody's on stage. You guys got the stuff. What's it like once the cameras start rolling? Like, what's that? Walk us through a typical filming.
When the cameras start rolling.
Is it all in one take? Like
That's
what's on
the
Monster
easy
Vision?
part. Yeah, that's the easy part. Yeah, we don't ever stop. We just go. We don't ever redo something. Do we ever redo something?
Fuck no. And we don't even rehearse. We just go out there. And that's why, when I first started, it was insane because off camera, Joe Bobby, he's so quiet and chill and subdued and whatever. It's like the
I'm
first.
just bored. I'm waiting around.
No, I'm talking about real life, just talking. You're John Bloom, whatever. The first time we went out there and he became Joe Bob for the first time, he was like, welcome. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't get that memo. And so like you guys saw me being like all quiet and scared. I'm like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who I'm talking to. So like you are so pro, you are so used to it, and it's taken me a long time to understand your rhythm. But I got it.
I mean, don't tell me your secret, but you get kind of into a silly zone sometimes.
Oh, I don't know. What could it be?
It works really well on the show.
He does. He always says, whatever combination of weed you had on that episode, that's what you need to do.
Well, not too much, just a little bit, but, you do have a zone that's, like, very good for the show.
I originally started trying to be, like, super pro, and I won't smoke or do anything, and I'm like, you know what? You're drinking the whole time. I'm going to do my
There have been so many fun moments on the last drive-in. When you guys are working out with Skybar, you're rapping about spookies. You gave Darcy her first prom, and it was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
What is each of yours proudest moment on the show?
Proudest moment? I think it's when we did Nosferatu.
Yes.
Because we broke all the rules. TV networks hate silent films. TV networks hate subtitles. TV networks hate black and white. TV networks hate anything made before, I would say, 1980. Even in our world, And so we broke all those rules, and we showed this exact same story twice. And we dressed in 1820s Biedermeier.
The fancy shoes.
He put his whole costume together himself. He had the wig floated from like Switzerland or some shit. Like,
it's true. That wig that they wore in the 1820s in Germany, you got to order that from Zurich. Yeah, they don't even have those. And so, I was like, what do you think? What do you think? And everyone was like, what is that? What is that? It's like a wasp nest on your head. But in Switzerland, apparently it would be very cool.
I don't think that's true.
But anyway, we did this whole deep dive into the original Nosferatu and then the remake of Nosferatu by Werner Herzog in 1979. And both of those movies would have been hard sells if it were not for the fact that it was the 100th anniversary of Nosferatu, and so it was the birthday party. But anyway, I thought everything on that show was splendid.
It was quite splendid.
What is your favorite moment?
Favorite or proudest?
Proudest.
Proudest was the question. Proudest would be the very first thing that we did because we made it happen and you were back.
Oh.
The very beginning of the first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Tourist trap.
Yeah, we used...
Which was supposed to be Night of the Creeps,
We
and they
used
took it
every-
away last minute. I know.
We used every penny of that $30,000. We actually had Ink Master, the series Ink Master. Anybody a fan of Ink Master? They have a studio in a bad part of Newark, New Jersey, in an old abandoned factory, and they loaned us one room of it to do the marathon. So that's where we did the marathon.
He and I had to share a dressing room, and he would come in and change. I'm like, ooh, my childhood crush is here.
Well, and Felissa Rose was sharing the dressing room.
She stole my shoes. But that's how we became besties. Right away, she's like, "Oh my God, can I wear those shoes? Oh my God, yes, Melissa."
And our Bigfoot expert.
I actually tried to get Felissa to be the male girl. I'm like, I'm too scared. I cannot do it. You go be the male girl. We made that awesome fun. It's like, male girl, come on. But she was like, I know, right?
It's right there.
But of course, that would have probably not worked out long term. But she was very supportive and gave me courage to go out there and do it. So I was glad she was there.
And Lyle was there too.
I didn't even know who that was though.
Well,
but he turned out to be fun.
He's a Bigfoot expert.
I didn't know.
No one.
You're like, oh, here's Lyle. I'm like,
no one. Okay.
So you guys have appeared in lots of horror movies. You've also appeared in some of the same movies together. One of our favorites, our new favorite exercise tape, Slasher Size Volume 1. Is there any chance we're going to get a Slasher Size Volume 2?
I think so, actually, yeah. Thanks for asking.
Any other movies maybe down the pipeline that you guys will appear together in?
Yeah, I feel like Melissa Rose puts a lot together, and she's like, hey guys, I'm doing this thing, you want to come do it? I'm like, so we have a couple of Melissa Rose things coming out.
Sweet.
There are some. I've forgotten the titles, but I've done like 3 like super low budget indie films that are not out yet. But
We love low budget indie films. Speaking of which, not proudest, but just impressive that you got Hogzilla 2. Or Hogzilla Mega. Is there any chance of a sequel for that?
I believe there is. The people demand it.
you know.
So here's a fun fact, though. He's starting his own production company. And I'm putting Hogzilla 2 on the table.
We're not doing Hogzilla.
We're doing Hogzilla 2.
The director and producer of Hogzilla, Diane Jacques. That's how you say her name, right?
Yes,
Diane,
what's your point?
Diane Jacques. She didn't finish the movie. Darcy finished the movie.
Yeah.
So-
That was quite the process.
I mean, Darcy goes above and beyond, I think, what any male girl before her has ever done. And I don't think a lot of people know about all the stuff you do behind the scenes, like not even for just the Last Drive-In. Can you talk about some of that?
What do you mean, not just from
Like
Lost Drive-In?
the Lost Drive-In. We went to
Oh.
Redneck Save Hollywood. You're running the projector. You do everything.
So I just basically give him no excuse to not do things, you know what I mean? So like, I help with writing, I help with production, I help with getting guests, I help with costumes. If he needs somebody to help, like I originally started traveling with him because he needed somebody to run his like machines and stuff, like cash machine. I'm like, I'll help you with that. So I'm like, I'm just always here helping with all the things. The Lost Drive-In, shush.
Okay.
I'm talking. The Lost Drive-In is because he just had all his old footage sitting in storage, just like rotting and like not protected by weather or anything. Like it wasn't weather controlled. I'm like, what are you doing? So like we started the process of just restoring all his old footage. Like everything has just happened because I'm trying to help this man. Like that's yes, you know it.
I mean, one thing you helped me with when I first started writing a newspaper column called Joe Bob Goes to the Drive-In in the early '80s. That's how all this started. Part of what I did is I satirized every single thing under the sun, every political position, every organization. I mean, I was just a machine gun. It was like, we go boom, 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 and then somebody would scream over here, and so I'd hit them 20 more times. and so that was my theory of satire, and I continued to do it years, and then even after I stopped working at TNT, I was still writing articles, and I was the flamethrower. I was the guy. They would bring me into journalism conferences and say, "Hey, here's the guy who writes that stuff in Dallas," and they would have what's that guy? 2 years in a row at the Associated Press Managing Editors Convention, I was kind of on trial, and Alan Dershowitz was the he wasn't the prosecutor, but he was the moderator. And they would come and try to decide whether what I was doing was suitable for a mainstream newspaper, and so that was what I always did, and that was my reputation. And my defense was always, I don't take a position. I completely try to destroy every self-righteous position that I see anywhere on this political spectrum, and so. When I started doing the show again, I was doing the same thing, and and you're going, oh no, oh no, you cannot say that. And I was like, well, when did the world change? Because this is always what I've done. And I've worked at places where I was attacked. Listen, I've worked at places where I was constantly attacked for being a right-wing nut, and I've worked at places where I was constantly attacked for being a woke, liberal libtard, you know. And both were zany opinions of who knows who, you know. But I went through all that. I was picketed. I went through all that stuff, and I said, and so we would have this conversation, you know, and say, you know, you're going, you can't say that. And I say, no, you don't understand. I do it to everybody, therefore I get a pass. And you're going, no. You can't do that. And Austin, the director, was saying the same thing. He says, you know, no, because you're drilling down on people, you know. And I said, no. I'm the lowest. I'm the lowest. So
I just want it on the record
eventually
that we do this because we have to. It's like I would be fine with you being yourself and being as satirical as you fucking want, but Shudder has things we cannot say, and we have to say it. I have to put you in your place.
Everywhere I worked before that, I would subvert that.
Right, but that's Shudder. That's not me.
When I was at TNT, they had a list of words that you cannot say on TNT. Okay? And so I would invent a nonsense word that sounded dirtier than the word that they didn't want me to say.
Like bestiality?
But then, like 6 months later, my nonsense
like
word turns up on the
aardvarking.
forbidden list.
You can't say
It's
aardvarking.
completely unfair. It's not a real word. You can't put it on the forbidden list. So,
I would also like to remind you the question was, what do I do behind the scenes?
well, no, I'm saying it was a very valuable thing because.
Oh, never mind. What's next?
No, it was a very valuable thing.
We get it.
Because, there became a point where you can't say certain things. You just can't say them. And I, you know, I'm too
We got
old.
it.
I'm too old. I'm too old for this work.
You guys want to read a lot of the stuff that he's not allowed to say on Shudder? He has these amazing books, which are sadly out of print. They're really hard to find.
Oh, wait.
But I've got good news for you. His very first book, Joe Bob Goes to the Drive-In, is getting a re-release this fall, right?
All right, well, you guys settle in for this.
No, two things. Please come by the table and use that QR code to pre-order it, even if you don't want it. because the Amazon algorithm is screwed up, and so the Amazon algorithm thinks that I'm selling more books than Stephen King, and so every time somebody orders one, it pumps up the algorithm, and so you can reverse that order at any time in the next few months. And the book's not published till October 15th or something like that. And so even if you don't want the book, just hit that for me.
You guys laugh, but he's not kidding.
I'm not kidding. And then it does have an introduction by Stephen King. Maybe that's why it's the algorithm is screwed up. They're like, they can't read the cover of the book properly. So it says introduction by Stephen King, and they think it is a Stephen King book. I don't know.
By Stephen King's really big.
Well, of course it
Really
is.
small?
Of course it is, yeah. And but anyway, and also, it's published by Dark Horse Comics. They do regular books, but not just comics. And they did these amazing illustrations. Now these were newspaper articles that were just dashed off, weekly. But they did these amazing illustrations of the action taking place in the articles. And they're going to have a big launch party for it at the Hollywood Theater in Portland, if any of you... The only reason it's there is that, Dark Horse is in Portland. But But if any of you want to come down for that, or if any of you are from Portland, it's in October.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
We're there, dude.
Okay.
That was shorter than normal. Good for you.
Okay, sorry.
If that goes well, is there any chance that these other ones will get republished as well?
I think so, but before that, I'm going to publish an original book that's it's a history of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all the sequels.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's
but
amazing.
mostly it's about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I think I'm the only person that's interviewed every single person that worked on the movie, both the actors and the crew. And so about half of them are dead now. But I did it started out 25 years ago. I did an article for Texas Monthly Magazine on how the Texas Chainsaw Massacre had ruined all these people's lives. and so now I've developed that into a full book-length thing. Right.
That's amazing. So when do you think that will be coming out?
Probably a year after this book.
And then maybe Joe Bob goes back to the drive-in?
Joe goes back. I mean, as long as they want to publish them, I've got material. Sometimes, I don't know if anybody else has this. There are probably some writers here, right? It's like when you're a writer, you create those folders, and every once in a while you see a folder that you created like 15 years ago when you're going to do a project or something, and you look at it and you actually wrote something 15 years ago. So anyway, I've got plenty of material to do the sequels to Joe Bob Goes to the Drive-In.
We are here for it. You guys have been absolutely amazing, and now we're going to turn it over to you guys to ask Joe Bob and Darcy your questions. So just raise your hand, and we'll call on you, and you've got the floor.
So, what exactly were you not allowed to say? Do they think they're running the fucking Lifetime channel? What?
Dude, okay.
What?
There was a time when blonde jokes were forbidden. That would offend blondes. Like, they get crazy
Are you talking about on
sometimes.
Shudder?
Yes.
Yeah,
Forbidden to say on Shudder?
yeah. The list of things that you guys said.
Well,
like,
now,
you're not supposed to say that on
Even though
So-
here's I mean, I don't want to be that critical, but
It's just true.
when anything that's in the news that's a political fight, they just go, let's stay away from that.
Yeah.
Let's stay away from that. It's not what I say. It's the topic itself. So, for example, anything about any joke, and it doesn't even have to be a joke, just a mention of the trans community. They go, no, Joe Bob, no.
That's what I have to say. You can't say this.
Even though in my previous life, in the middle 70s, like 1975, I wrote a whole series of articles on transgender surgery and transgender people for the Dallas Times Herald that at the time was censored by saying, "Oh, America's not ready for this," and at the time I said, how could America not be ready for this? Christine Jorgensen was in 1953.
Yeah.
And it's 1975. I said, how can America not be ready for this? I had that argument with the editor of the Dallas Times Herald in 1975. Okay. We're in 2025! Fuck! What the fuck? Do you really think these people do not exist? It's like the most oppressed minority in America. How do you get away with it? You get away with it because there aren't enough of them, to fight. So anyway, I had this article which I did if you watch the original marathon, I did this rant about.
They would never let you do that now.
Huh?
They would never let you do
They
that
would
right
never
now.
approve it now. I think it just slipped in because they thought, oh, it's Joe Bob. Nobody pays any attention. you know. But I think if I did that transgender piece now, I don't think it would. But it is on Shudder. You can watch it. What movie was that?
Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp. The intro to Sleepaway Camp is all about, because, Melissa Rose, talk about a movie about gender confusion, right? So that's the kind of thing. I recently we're going to do a thing on werewolves. Okay, we're going to do a night of werewolves.
Yeah.
And a lot of the academic
Oh, I
research.
wish we could get Halloween.
A lot of the academic research on werewolf movies touches on trans issues, and about subtext,
Like the marsupials?
And they were like they were ahead of me. They were like
Before
Joe
you
Bob.
even start.
Yeah, before I even start, Joe Bob, we know you go into the academic stuff. You probably want to stay away from, So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And sometimes when I do live shows, I go ahead and make, jokes about the, I don't know. It probably doesn't happen here, but if I'm in Florida or Georgia or somewhere, you guys still putting the drag queens in prison? They actually banned drag shows in some of those places.
We have Capitol Hill here. That doesn't happen.
So.
Another question. You with the pretty hair.
So you started with $30,000 for that first project with Shudder. At what point did you realize, or where was that turning point where you realized everyone was hooked and it's like that, aha, we're going to continue with this?
When nobody could make it appear on their screen.
I will take that. Because when that first one aired, they were really trying to stop it right then. They put out polls like, is Joe Bob relevant in this day and age and stuff like that? Is he anti-women? Shudder put that up. You know what I mean? They were very much trying to bury it.
Secret polls.
Yes, and they said they were not even going to air this, and we were just going to do it anyway and figure it out. Anyway, they ended up airing it, and we thought that was going to be it, the end. We're just happy that it made it to air. Cool. Once everything crashed, we got a call saying, "You guys, let's have a chat on Monday." I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And not even anything to do with me. I was just so happy for him. I didn't know I was going to keep doing this. I was just like, yes!
Yeah, the secret AMC polls were like, is Joe Bob an asshole?
Yes, basically. That's the publicity they were putting on. I'm like, what the fuck is that, man?
So, going back to the satire and the flaming you got for your column, coincidentally, before I came here today, I watched a piece on YouTube about the Smothers Brothers getting canned once they crossed the lines at CBS. Who do you follow, or who do you look to now and really admire that's doing that kind of satire successfully?
The last place you can do it is stand-up. And there are stand-up guys who are brave and who are aggressive and who can never appear on TV. And I'll get you the names. I have them on my phone of guys who are doing material that is pretty amazing and pretty good. But the stand-up stage, and even those guys sometimes get canceled, But the stand-up stage is one of the last places where you can, Chris Rock can go anywhere he wants to go, and Dave Chappelle can go any place he wants to go. No?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay. Well, see, but that's where the culture has changed. It's like, I don't know exactly when the date was, but for example, every satirist from the beginning of time has made fun of the president. You have to make fun of the president.
Yeah.
It's part of your job. So
door.
when I was in college, Gerald Ford was the president. Okay, so I made fun of Gerald Ford, and then I made fun of Jimmy Carter, and then I made fun of Ronald Reagan, and then I made fun of Trump, Bush 1, and then I made fun of Clinton, and then made fun of Bush 2, and then here's where it started. Started with Obama. Didn't start with Trump. Started with Obama. We're supposed to make fun of Obama. You would get hate mail for making fun of Obama. Especially if you made him look like an idiot. And then it became worse with Trump, and now it's like, don't even go there. What do you want to be? It's like daring a road rage guy to kill you. It's like
What?
It's like a road rage guy puts the gun out the window and you say, "Oh, fuck you!"
Time for one more question.
Yeah, I know that both of you have sat through like a lot of bad movies in your time. What would you say was like the worst movie you've ever seen, Joe Bob or Darcy?
The worst movie?
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to the so bad it's good school. And any movie that was done with honesty and passion, I endorse, even if it's
Like Halloween 3.
even if it fails. Halloween fucking 3. Yeah.
Love and passion.
But there are movies that are done with cynicism, and I don't like those. So somebody who just like sets out to make a horror film because he thinks he can scare the rubes, and you can tell by the attitude of the movie. I don't really go for those. Yeah.
I just more or less I want to comment that I've been a fan since the Cinematics days and then the Monster Vision, and it is nice to have a mutant on the inside.
Thank you. And I see the Patreon shirt. Thank you.
That's it. It's a mutant on the inside. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Let's squeeze in one more.
Huge fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and I didn't realize until this weekend that you were actually in it.
The movie
Scenes
theaters
were
did.
deleted.
Yeah, I mean, I went down to Austin when they were filming it to do an article for Rolling Stone magazine on Dennis Hopper, because Dennis Hopper was coming out of rehab and hadn't been seen for like 3 years. So they go down and interview Dennis Hopper. So I go down to the set of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Toby Hooper says, "Oh, you're that guy that like writes about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre," because at the time not that many people endorsed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he says, "Go over here with my screenwriter. You got write a scene. I want to put you in a movie. Write a scene." And we go over there and we write this scene, and I think it was 2 scenes, and we shot them, and then about I get killed by Leatherface, and then about 2 weeks before the movie came out, Toby Hooper calls me and he says, "Joe Bob, I am so sorry, but Canon, we're trying to get the running time down, and Canon insisted that we take your scenes out." And I said, "Toby, I can't imagine. They were so organically." And so on one of the DVD releases, they put the scenes on as extras. Okay.
I have a really good quality on the Patreon for free. Everybody can check it out. And also a letter from Toby Hooper kind of being like, it was like an internal memo or something that says like, "This has to go," or something like that. Like, I copy that.
It's on Patreon, and you get all the perks, everything for like $35 a month, guys. It's
That's the
incredible.
high tier. We have the $5 tier.
Yeah.
But
you
it's
get
all
the
literally
the
to...
shirts, the mugs. I've gotten so many cool posters. Just amazing things. It's the Lost Drive-In on Patreon. So absolutely check
And the
that
whole
out.
point is to just see what is in his archives so that we can get a physical media release.
And there's Monster Vision. They've sent out DVDs that have like old episodes on them. It's just you're not going to find it anywhere else.
Let me ask you a question, though.
Watch-alongs are the best part.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Monthly watch-alongs with
Can I
Joe
ask
Bob.
you
And
a
he
question about
answers
the
questions.
Patreon?
I guess.
When you post those old shows from TNT, and one of these rants comes up
I leave it.
where you tell me,
I leave it. I'm not
can't
censoring
say
you.
that.
Shutter's censoring you. It's like, this was you back then.
So
You
you're
have
saying-
Confederate shit all over the
So you're
place.
saying-
You call everyone. You're just like, oh, these dykes were on their motorcycles. This was Joe Bob, man.
you have to understand, when I was in high school, there were lots of schools.
Everybody's a bimbo.
No, lots of schools had.
I get it. It was the
Confederate-
Dukes of Hazzard era.
You know, had the rebels. You know, and so the people had Confederate shirts. It wasn't considered a racist thing.
He did TNT promos with a big old Confederate flag shirt. I'm like, that is a different time.
And you're from South Carolina. You should know that.
I posted. What do you want from me? Like, I just know it wouldn't happen now.
I think my favorite part at the end of every Last Drive-In episode is when you send us out with a joke. Would you do us the honor?
All right. I want to do a joke that never gets a laugh.
Oh no, I've heard this so many times. That laugh. Oh
No,
my god.
Because I think the joke is funny.
It's so good.
I think the joke is funny. I think I'm not telling it right. And that if I can just like slightly change the delivery each time I tell the joke, that eventually the joke will score. Okay? But so far, everyone just goes, Okay.
Okay, now I'm getting worried.
I'm gonna document that everybody's laughing, so you never have to tell it again.
I'm getting ready.
Okay.
All right, so two nuns are riding bicycles down the street. They turn the corner, and one nun says, "I've never come this way before." And the other one says, "It's the cobblestones."
Oh my god! Oh, please never tell it again. I'm so tired of it. Oh my god.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to come to Seattle to tell a Catholic joke?
There was none better.
Oh. Thank you so much. It is a true pleasure to have you both here. And
Thank you
you
for
guys
moderating.
have a wonderful weekend. Thank you guys for being an incredible audience. And let's give it up one more time for Joe Bob.